she's there. You should be able
Yes,
to
we
see
are
her
live.
now.
Okay, and has Beena come?
Yeah.
I can't see Beena till now.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
We cannot see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should we go ahead?
Should we? So,
Okay, she's here. Sorry, Nidhi, we're all 6 of us here now.
You have to let her in,
I
Aruna.
have done that. Yes. Hi,
Yes.
Beena. Hi, Beena. Your audio, check your audio, please. Beena, your audio is not there.
Yes, of course. Beena, I'll just keep the phone, huh? You there, I can see you. Ah, thank God.
Beena, your audio. Hi, Beena, say something. Okay. So we are going live now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. इश्क ने गालिब निकम्मा कर दिया वरना हम भी आदमी थे काम के. You get the drift, right? I welcome you to the session on robust and mature romance. The session has been brought to you under the umbrella of perhaps what is the largest online lit fest put together by the book bakers. A quick word about myself. I am a communications expert and an international hospitality writer. I think it was preordained that I would be your Sarthi for this session, and I'll tell you why. Amongst the host of hats I've worn over the years professionally, I have been India's first ever creative writer with the greeting cards giant Archie's. Quite on the heels of that, I came out with 2 anthologies of my poems on love and friendship. Soon after, the media was calling me the mistress of mush. So you see, romance comes naturally to me. You know, romance has spawned and influenced hordes of industries. For one, there is architecture. With a structure like Taj Mahal, which is perhaps the tallest totem to romance, there is films and music. Easily, romance is the gravitational force for Bollywood. And then there is literature. From this literature, from the prim and proper Victorian romance of Pride and Prejudice to the in-your-face sexiness of 50 Shades of Grey. From the soothing schmaltz of Ghalib to the sensuous erotica of Gertrude Stein to the dodgy somnambulance of a certain Mr. Bhagat, we have really covered the distance. My panel of illustrious and experienced writers has added remarkably with their works to this genre. Please allow me to introduce the authors to you. I have amidst us, I'm going first with Vani Kaushal. Hi Vani, please wave out.
Yay, hi.
Namaste, that's right. In times of pandemic, it's namaskar. Vani Kaushal. Vani Kaushal is an international author. I'm going to read your bio out. And an art curator and a popular columnist. Her debut rom-com, The Recession Groom, was released in 2015 to widespread acclaim. Her second book, Flowers Forever, was released in the United States last year. Vani is a gold medalist in economics from Punjab University and an MBA graduate from Kingston University in the UK. Her new romance novel titled Seconds Later is coming out this summer. In her spare hours, Vani likes to appear on television to talk about what else? Love and romance. Sophia Loren.
Thank you.
That's an impressive bio out there. Sophia Lorena Benjamin. Or should we call you, hi Sophia, can we call you Sophia Loren instead? That befits you, right?
No problem.
Okay, Sophia Lorena Benjamin is the author of the highly rated romantic novel, Claudia. It's a historical romance novel which is set in Goa during the Goa's liberation phase. An announcer for Goa Doordarshan, an executive with Citibank Goa and Citigroup Dubai, and a columnist for a host of international and national publications in a previous role, Sophia today works as a confidence and communications coach. Sitting by the knee of her director, playwright grandfather, and fed on Goan folklore in her childhood years, Sophia grew on to write and direct and stage plays herself. But the finest feather in her cap, perhaps, and the one that I like the most, is that she has been counted on to write love letters for the simple Goan village folk. That brings me to another member from our panel, Abhishek Gupta. Hi, Abhishek,
Hello.
who's quite a veteran on the Lit Fest this time. He's appeared in quite a few sessions. Abhishek is an award-winning writer, technical writer with a leading software organization. Abhishek discovered his passion for writing very early, and he began penning down his poems at the age of 7. He has penned several best-selling short story books, such as 15 by 1, Story Avenue, Zarina of Love Forlorn, and Season of Love. Some of his stories have been translated and published in Bengali and Telugu. His latest, Visions of a Summer Past, is a magnificently written opus that straddles across time zones and falls in the realm of magical realism. A master quizzing aficionado and a social media influencer, Abhishek runs his own lifestyle channel on YouTube. I welcome Beena Pillai. I must apologize for the gap with her, but I make it up
Yeah,
to her and I can hear her absolutely clearly. Welcome, Beena. Welcome to the group.
thank you so much.
Beena Pillai is an award-winning poet and author of Lyrical Rhythms of My Heart and the recently published Under the Mango Tree. Her latest book touches the raw nerve by dealing with aspects of patriarchy, abuse, and mature romance. Beena's works have been published in almost or well over 20 anthologies. A natural crusader, Beena has been the citizen journalist with CNN IBN to create awareness for the lack of schools for dyslexic children. Beena is the administrator and the member of jury at the Asian Literary Society and an associate editor of the Journal of Asian Arts, Culture, and Literature. Painting and photography count amongst some of her hobbies. That brings me to round up the panel of illustrious authors and brings me to Kulpreet Yadav, who is first an ex-naval officer and a perpetual gentleman. Welcome, Kulpreet. Crime
Thank you very
thrillers,
much.
you're welcome. Crime thrillers, conspiracies, and mysteries hold Kulpreet's interest. Kulpreet is a best-selling author of a whopping 12 books, and he dabbles in the fiction thriller genre. His book, the Girl Who Loved a Pirate, is India's first thriller based on marine piracy and hijacking. Kulpreet, together with actor Sushant Singh, has brought out one of his latest books, Queens of Crime, True Stories of Women Criminals from India, in 2019. In 2019 itself, he published his first romance book with Rupa titled The Last Love Letter. Besides being an award-winning author, Kulpreet is also a motivational speaker, and he calls himself fledgling, but I think he's an upcoming filmmaker. Well, pleasure to have this illustrious group on the panel with me. Welcome aboard, all of
Thank
you.
you.
And I'm going to ask my
Thank you.
first question to Vani and Kulpreet. And the question is, how different is the regimen of writing romance from the other genres? What are the challenges of writing a good romance? Vani, would you want to take that first?
Yeah, I so thank you for that lovely introduction, Aruna. I think so people think that it's easy to write romance, and in certain ways, I think it is because you're playing. Primarily, you have the basic elements, which are just three. You know, you have a protagonist, you have a love interest, and you have some obstacles, and you have to sort of juxtapose these things against each other. But even so, it is tough to write a romance because you have to build a compelling story which people feel like reading. It has to be full of pathos. There has to be an interesting plot line. And if you're writing for a mature audience, you know, you're not writing a campus romance, then it requires a lot of research and all. So I would say it's not that easy. And you know, it has to be evocative. You have to have your hand on the pulse of the market. What's the reader, what does the reader want? So there was a time when people were asking for those, you know, very erotica sort of novels, you know. So you had 50 Shades of Grey, the market was flooded with those, and then there's suddenly vampire fiction that people start liking. So I mean, it's tough. It's tough, and you know, I mean, I would love to hear from you what you feel about it, or what Preeti feels about it, or you know.
I'm going to keep my muchness aside for the time being and put the mic under Kulpreet. Kulpreet, what do you think about the regimen that needs to be observed for really writing a good, throbbing romance?
So I think most of the things that Vani has said are absolutely bang on. I fully agree with her. Also, I think while writing romance, since there is no visible villain, normally in a romance novel, it is only about feelings and emotions. I think it is better to keep the stories very simple, but at the same time, the kind of characters that people can really relate to,
Yes.
um, very strong lines that can make people, feel the pain of those characters or the joy, and everyday stories. And I think romance stories have to be written with a lot of honesty, a lot of more heart, and a lot of more passion. And if you write a good romance novel, because I've written only one and I can talk from my experience, I can only talk for myself. I think if you write a book and if it doesn't move, if you are not moved yourself, then I don't think the story is going anywhere. So you should be able to feel the pain and pleasures of those characters. I think if you take care of these few things in mind, um, you should have a good romance novel in your hands.
I think that's fantastic what you said. The honesty bit is something that resonates, and also keeping the pain and the pleasure both of the characters that you're building up in a romantic novel. Very well said, Kulpreet and Vani. Now, my next question to my next set of two guests who have dabbled in historical romances. I would like to ask them, and that's Abhishek and Sophia, how much of your romance writing is research or observation based, and how much is it autobiographical? Sophia, would you like to take that first?
Sure. Thanks, Aruna. First of all, let me thank Sohail Mathur and his entire team at the Book Bakers for giving this opportunity. And thanks to you, Aruna. Yeah, research, observation, and autobiographical. Um, See, my book was it is set in the 1960s during the Portuguese liberation. So I had to do research because I had to be correct about the dates, and I had to be correct about the flow of events, since it was a very important event, important historical event. And so for that purpose, I had to do a lot of research in order to be accurate. Secondly, observation. Yes, I have said it before many times that a lot of things that I wrote in my novel, it was word of mouth stories that I had heard from family, from neighbors, and my grandparents. And so these stories were passed on, basically about people, how people were during the Portuguese times. So yes, a lot of those things were written in my novel. I had to take a lot of help from the stories that I heard. And coming to the autobiographical part of it, I want to narrate one incident about my great grandmother. So this story was passed on to generations. My mom told me this, that it's a very interesting story, that my great grandmother was in the field, and those days there were no love marriages, at least love marriages were not encouraged. So she was in the field, she had gone with her parents and she was in the field. While she was at the field, she saw a man pass by, and this man was very, very good looking. And my great grandmother was not that great looking. But when she saw that man, since she told them that she liked the man so much that she knelt right at the field and she looked up to the sky and she said, God, please let this man be my husband. And so what happened was, after a few days, she gets a proposal from the same boy's family asking her in marriage for this boy. And so I thought that was a very fascinating story. Fabulous. And I wanted to write that.
That's right, absolutely.
Right.
Fabulous.
So I wanted to mention that in my book, but I wrote it as a fictional account. And so, since you said, was it autobiographical? Even if it was not my own experience, it was indirectly autobiographical. So it was a mix, the book is a mix of research, observation, and a bit of our own stories.
A very quick corollary. No, absolutely. Sophia, just one quick corollary, and that's I'm intrigued about it. When you have to go back to your memory well and dive into it, how do you keep a journal? How do you keep the records right? How do you keep the dates? How do you correlate it back to the instances that happen in the lives of the people you're talking about, if they're close to you or even if people they're detached? How do you bring that? How do you loop that back to the facts? Is it a journal that you keep? Have you been doing that
We'll
for
say
a
as far
number of
as my
years?
memory is concerned. Sorry.
Come again?
Uh, I think most of the stories I remember very clearly. And since I was born and brought up in Goa, and I live in Hyderabad, so Goa is very, very close to my heart. And everything that happened, everything that was told to me by my parents, grandparents, it's a very close memory, and it's a very clear memory. I don't forget things. And so that helped me during while I was writing the novel.
Of course. Abhishek, what was your process like?
Yes, a very good evening first to
Good
you,
evening,
Arunaji,
Abhishek.
and to all other panel of authors and all our viewers. And yes, that's a very important question that you've put forward, that how much of writing romance is research based and how much of it is personal or autobiographical.
Yes.
So I personally believe that research is of course important. If you are writing, say, a period drama, or you are writing about a famous incident, a famous pair of lovers, research is of course important. But to write romance, I believe romance is the most personal form of writing fiction. And like, to when you write romance as the author, you put a lot of yourself into the story. You cannot help that. If you haven't felt that amount of pain and that amount of longing for a person, if you haven't felt the pain of separation or heartbreaks, you cannot write a romance which people would be able to relate to. And that is very important for me. When I write romance, I have written about the kind of lives I have seen and the kind of life I have known about, I have
Yes.
heard about. And in my the novel that you spoke about, I have created characters who are based on some of my ancestors, some of my family members. And I have known their experiences, the journey that they have went through. And I have used my own senses and sensibilities while I have tried to sketch those characters. So I think both are very important. Research is of course there, but unless and until as a person you have felt that amount of pain and that amount of love for a person, you won't be able to do justice to your story. And I can give an example. Like I wrote a campus romance, and that was set in an engineering college. And at that time I got many reader reaction, many calls, and many messages from young readers who were students. And they said, sir, we like your story because we can so very well relate to it. It's exactly like what happens in our college, it's exactly like what happens in our campus. So that is very important, to create characters and to narrate incidents that people would be able to relate to. So the realism part of it is very important, and for that you have to bring out your empathy. You have to bring out what you would have done in that situation. So yeah, that's it from my side.
Very well said indeed, absolutely. Now, since we are talking about romance and love and all that, there are these lovely lines by the contemporary legend Margaret Atwood. In the different sessions, people talk about the ages and how there's a plethora of young people, in this book fest that we are organizing, and also the older people also like us. I quoted Ghalib to begin with, and they might say, "Oh, Ghalib, who's Ghalib?" They would not know. So these lines are by Margaret Atwood. They would not even know Margaret Atwood, I guess. I'm sorry, guys, young adults, I'm pulling your leg. Margaret Atwood is the lady who's behind The Handmaid's Tale. Now, that one they would know because they've seen it on Amazon Prime. So Margaret Atwood writes, marriage is not a house or even a tent. It is before that and colder. The edge of the forest, the edge of the desert, the unpainted stairs at the back, where we squat outdoors eating popcorn. Where painfully and with wonder at having survived this far, we are learning to make fire. So I want to ask Bina my next question. How much do your personal relationships with your paramour or your spouse or your friends have a bearing on your writings on romance? Bina?
Yeah. Actually, a fair bit, I should say. But before that, let me thank Suhail Mathur and the Best Bakers for giving me this opportunity, and Aruna, you for introducing me.
Thank you.
The story has been inspired by people around me
Yes.
But who's interested in my biography? So it's not a complete biography, but I have weaved a story in it. Though most of the incidents are true, there is a story weaved in it to make it interesting and thrilling for the readers.
Fabulous, fabulous. And do you think in general people do sort of when they write romances, um, every bit of writing is autobiographical to some extent or the other. We do sort of go back to our banks of our lives and bring that into a writing. So do people always try and link back to maybe a secret affair they had, or the relationship with their husband or the friends, and then do a nice romantic. Vani's laughing, so I think she's used that experience a bit as well. But Beena, do you think
No,
that is what you would do?
no. Come on, I know people do that,
Yeah.
but honestly,
Yes.
I'll tell you. I think if you're a movie author, or maybe you've written 2 or 3 books, you tend to do that. But after a certain stage, when you've written a couple of books, you don't borrow things from your life. I mean, I sit in this room 3 to 7 days a week, and there is nothing very interesting about a writer's life. So unless I have this larger than life sort of I'm playing out, and I have some 10, 15 people in my life and all that, then my life becomes very interesting, and I
Exciting.
can write novels out of it. Plus, very important, when you write romance,
Yes.
you put all the sort of stuff that does not happen in real life. There's a knight in shining armor, and he comes to, he's always so protective about you. And there's so much stuff that is happening, under the sheets and all that stuff that doesn't happen in your life. So
It
that's
will,
why
it
I was laughing
will.
and
Give it a
thought,
bit of time. You're already a successful romantic author. There's hardly, any time left for you to get your knight in shining armor too, I'm sure. So on that note, I'm going to ask my next question to Abhishek and Sophia. From Romeo and Juliet and Othello or Leila Majnu and Soni Mahiwal to even the Thornbirds and the Notebook, romantic tragedy as a flavor has a lot of fascination for the readers, and it has held their interest for a long, long time. Why do you think it is such a hot selling ticket, Sophia?
You're asking me. Um, Now, I cannot give a generic statement, but probably my personal conviction that maybe no, love is such a strong emotion, and romance is associated with love. And for example, you just see a couple walking on the streets, and they can make heads turn. They just walk on the street, they just hold hands, and people will look at them. So I believe love and romance is a very strong emotion, and when there is a tragic end to it, as human beings, we tend to get moved that um, at the tragic end, that they could not come together, the couple in love, or the couple who was so romantic, could not come to a desired end. And probably that is the reason you feel sympathetic towards it, you feel about that. And maybe that is it. Uh,
Abhishek, your book has a lot of pathos as well. What do you think about romantic tragedies?
Right. I believe romantic tragedies have an universal appeal. I mean, right from Shakespeare and tragedies to, say, Eric Siegel's love story to the more
Yes, that's a
recent
good one.
example of The Fault in Our Stars. So
Stars, yes.
these have had like a cult following over the years. Even if you look at India, books like I Too Had a Love Story or You Are the Best Wife, they have been a stellar success. So I believe when readers read a romantic tragedy, they identify themselves with those characters, and they can relate to the pain, and they can relate to the pathos that those characters have gone through, and they can try. I think one of the best things about being a human being is that you can try in someone else's pain. So readers get that feeling when they read a good, realistic romantic tragedy. Their pain is also brought out, and they can identify themselves with those characters. And yeah, I think that is why romantic tragedies are here to stay. And everywhere around the universe, across age groups, they have an appeal.
Absolutely, I so agree with you. And that brings me to the other subgenre, dramedy. And it is such a significant genre now that it has its own nomenclature. Given that writing comedies is such a serious business, what does it entail to write successful dramedies? Kulpreet, I'm going to bring that to your table.
Oh, okay. So, Romedy, of course, is very popular, particularly with the youngsters.
Yeah.
I haven't really tried to write one. So, I don't think I'm really qualified to answer this question. Probably Vani can answer this better.
Yes. Vani, would you like to take it on? I thought you know, in your uniform, a naval officer would really have the right tricks up his sleeve for dramedies, right? Having indulged in several himself.
No,
I think yeah, okay.
Personally, I like romance which are serious and not tragic ending. But I'm not someone who reads a lot of comedy books. So I don't know how to answer this, but
Vani, I'm
is
sure with
reading
you. Yeah,
comedy.
Vani, would you want to talk about dramedies?
Oh yeah. My first book was rom-com. So yeah,
Yes.
I mean, so the thing about writing your question was, sorry, I got so excited, I just lost you on the question you asked.
I wanted to ask you that comedy is such a significant thing from television to the film medium and definitely books.
No, because it's fun. I think it makes you feel good.
Yes.
Second, I think the best thing about comedy is that the challenges for for an author are far too many. But it's so it makes me so happy to see my readers smiling when I write something. But there are a few things that an author has to remember, and I'm talking about myself because my first book was rom-com, so it has to be. You have to create a unique voice for yourself, and you have to be careful not to go overboard and not to seem to be forcing laughter out of your readers. And you have to, when I say not go overboard with the fun and the stuff, is do you want to be making fun of people? What is your brand of fun? What you want to create over there? Do you want to make fun of people, the way they look, the way they act, the way they behave? So there are a lot of things that you have to create, and so it's not easy to write a comedy.
And that's not even comedy, Vani. That's crap, isn't it?
It's very satisfying. Yeah, it's very satisfying. That's what I meant, because yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Bina, would you want to talk about dramedies?
No, actually, I don't even read romantic books. That's the best part of it.
But you wrote one. You went ahead and wrote one.
No, what I meant is like Mills and Boone romance during my college days. I never have found that interesting because it's so predictable. The moment you open the book, you know what the ending is.
That's yes, absolutely.
Smile at the end of it, so it's a light reading. So many people enjoy reading that.
But I'm so sorry to bring that entire set of trade down, because that's a huge industry. But Mills and Boone is not even literature. Let's not even bring it to the table, right? So that's not what we are up to here. We are more sort of literatures. The next question I'm going to... Yes, Abhishek, please.
Yeah, I have a quick question in this connection to all the authors or anyone that wants to take up.
Yes.
What do you think as an author is more difficult, to make people laugh or to make people cry?
I have an answer, but let's see. Sophia, what do you think?
I think it's difficult to make people laugh. Anyone can make you cry. You can just pick up a sad story and just throw it at them. But you really need an art to make someone laugh. Comedy is an art, and you need to do it in the right manner. So I think it's tough to make people laugh.
Absolutely. Kulpreet,
you agree with me?
Comedy is hard. Comedy is hard, whether you are doing a stand-up or you're writing in a book. I think while you're doing a stand-up, it is all about timing and the words that you choose. But when you write it down, it is perhaps harder because you don't know. I mean, the readers are not in front of you, and they might be in different moods. So I've not really tried to write comedy, but I think it requires a lot of practice, and perhaps more acute observations.
That's right.
And what Vani said is right. Whom are you making fun of? Are you
Yes.
making fun of people, or the way they dress, or the way they look? So all this can be really a difficult space for a writer to get into, because you might end up offending people
Absolutely.
without wanting to, and thereby losing a reader. So I think it's quite a
I would
tightrope walk, and very few people can do it well. I don't know any Indian comedy fiction writers. I mean, apart from Vani and I don't know, very few perhaps.
I was going to say Ark and Heroine, and to an extent Ruskin Bond, who's dabbled in a bit of, not romance, but yeah, romantic comedy to an extent. But talking about making fun of people or doing that sort of stuff is actually more sitcom and more crass and more sort of crude than it can sort of be labeled as comedy at all. That's not what the aim should be. But even if there's a market for that kind of writing or programming, I don't think that should be the aim for any creative person. Okay, I'm going to ask another question, and this is going to be addressed to Vani, but I think Abhishek and Vani are the youngest ones here, so I'm sure they'll be able to take that, or anybody for that matter. The question is, if literature is a reflection of the society, how is romantic literature shaping up in the times of the Tinder generation? Vani, are you on Tinder first of
yeah.
all?
Sorry.
Are you on Tinder first of all? I said.
Not any. I'm not on any social media, that sort of platform.
Yes.
And I say with I'm not judging people who are. I think they are great platforms, and I believe that it's all about connecting with people, and you can find romance on those platforms. So I'm not averse to writing stories which are based on romances which that you found online or anything. It's just a great meeting place, and I mean, if you go back to the times of Jane Austen and all those Bronte, and take it back. You always had a situation, a meet cute sort of an situation where the boy is meeting the girl for the first time. It could be a person to person. You're at a ball and you meet this very fine looking girl or something, or it could be online. But then the biggest thing about online, meeting somebody online and writing about that, is that the two parties in the equation, they have a lot of choices. जैसे स्वयंवर में होता था, so you can really be with a lot of people. ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये अच्छा नहीं है, इसकी बातें मुझे नहीं जम रही, and so it gives you a lot of. So for me as an author, it gives me a huge lot of fodder for imagination. Wow, there's so much that I can write about. Create situations and fights and quarrels and breakups and betrayals, and so it's very interesting for a writer. So I have no problems with that.
Okay, I think we're running a bit short of time as well, so I'm going to ask my next important question, and that is directed to Beena and Abhishek. I want to know, how different is it writing about, romance between mature characters as opposed to writing a campus romance or even a Mills and Boon? Beena, would you like to talk about it?
Yeah. See, I said about Mills and Boon, our campus romance. What happens is, I think everything is so predictable. That's what I was trying to say. That there's no thrill in reading it, because right in the beginning you know what's happening at the end, and it's mostly of at least Mills and Boon. I've read one or two books where I understood that it's a girl meeting a rich or a billionaire, and then there's definitely after that there is a conflict because of. In fact, I feel that patriarchy is also addressed there, and at the end of it, it's a good ending. So I don't know, somehow it does not, but at the same time, I feel that if it's a mature romance, what happens is they are being older, around 30 to 40 years, they're more understanding. So I think that love is more interesting because they give space to each other. Then they could be here or miles apart, and still the love can go on. And So that I think is interesting for many of the readers and the younger generation. In fact, in my book, that Under the Mango Tree, I have addressed this. There are a few chapters on romance, and I actually try to keep it brief because I was more interested in showing in my book about the emotional abuse or the abuses, you know, the women undergo after marriage.
Yes.
So that, and I felt the society is not kind to them. And mostly it's the women who always bring down women. I'm sorry to say that,
That's true.
but
I
it
agree.
does happen. Yeah, and so I wanted to change that aspect. So I was trying to concentrate on that, and I think I wrote a lot of chapters on that because most of the time you hear people saying that, you know, that she has the marriage did not work because she has not worked on it or she doesn't know how to handle the person. Why do you need to handle a person? He's older than you. He can handle himself, isn't it? I don't think there's necessity for that. So somewhere, but at the same time, when I got calls and messages from everyone saying that they felt that the romance was too fast paced and they were enjoying it, and they wanted to know what has happened to Dia and Aditya. Have they really, you know, died or are they alive happily? So these kind of questions were there when I realized that, you know, mature romance is actually interesting to people.
Absolutely.
And even to the younger generation. That's what I
Yes.
was trying to say.
I have to come back to you, Beena, because I have a very important question for you. But before that, I had to ask Abhishek the same question. How do you think you have tackled romance between the mature characters in your book? And you do sort of straddle a vast, a big gap of time zones, really.
Right. It's very different because the kind of characters you are creating when you are writing about young people and when you are writing about mature people is very different. Their journeys are different. The way those people behave in the same kind of situation is different. Like I told you, I have done campus romance, and
Yes.
those guys, they are totally carefree and they smoke, they dope, they go on motorcycle rides and everything. And in my book, I have two distinct eras. So one of those is set in 1940s, and a lot of the things in that love story is a lot of love is expressed through your eyes. I mean, there's less of dialogue and more of situation that the characters find them in. And the other era in my story is like 2016's USA, and
Yes.
I taught about a living couple who are for a long amount of time they are in a long distance relationship as well. Things are very different when you create this different kind of characters, and like the way they behave. Like my character in my novel are well into their 30s and they're settled in their life, so they don't take hasty decisions. They are
Yes.
thinking a lot in their brain. So what they are thinking, what those characters are thinking, their emotions, writing those becomes very important. And when I have written about young people, I have mainly tried to put in a lot of action into the story, a lot of things that young people actually do. So yeah, the writing process and the writing journey is very different in these two cases.
The two segments, really. Yes, absolutely. Sophia, you've written a romantic novel, kind of a historical romance set in the time when Goa was, going through its liberation phase. So I'm going to ask you, from Titanic to Padmavat, one sees a lot of rubble being roused over books and screen adaptations. So what I'd like to ask you is how essential is to stick to the real story, and how much can a writer, take liberty or should take liberty?
All right, that's a very interesting question. Um, see, now this was what I wrote was historical fiction, and so when I started researching, not all the research was available.
Yes.
For instance, I wanted to know about how what people wore. I wanted to write about the clothing, and so you have to use a little bit of your imagination, um, uh, and especially because it is a fiction. It's a fictional account. You do keep all the dates and the occurrences in mind, and for that you need to be very, very accurate. But then when the research is not available, I think some of the parts there was no research available, so I had to use my imagination. And yeah, you can take liberty a little bit, uh, since you cannot complete your work, if it, especially if it is incomplete without that part which is missing when you try to use your imagination and try to make sense.
Yes,
I
thank you,
hope that
Sophia.
answers.
You too makes sense when you say that. An important question related to Kulpreet and Beena, really, and I think it is an important question. Besides bringing pleasure or being cathartic, how else does romantic literature influence the readers? Beena.
Um, so actually, let me talk about my book because from that there I have written. Now, Under the Mango Tree, actually, the story of Dia, the protagonist Dia, and her struggles, her life and struggles, and her abusive marriage, and the pain that she goes through. But also, it's about how she wins all her battles alone with one mantra, I can. So, from my book, there is a hope which they can, I'm sure they love to read about it, about hope. Then how she's able to find love. So you can follow your passion. You don't have to end your life when everything goes wrong. There are other avenues. You can follow your passion. You can follow your dreams. You can end up maybe falling in love. It does not matter because you have got a right to your happiness, and you can make your own choices. It need not be always dictated by others. So these are there are many values that you can also pick up from the romances. It's not always it's just about romance. It could be about life. It's about how you can how to be tolerant, and you
Yes.
don't have to be beautiful. Age does not matter, and I think these are the things that one can
Absolutely, yes.
enjoy from. Yeah.
And Kulpreet, what do you think?
Before that, I want to respond to what Beena said
Yes.
about romance novels and romance stories being predictable. I think romance stories have always been predictable. You know, and that is the best part because if it is predictable, everyone knows there's a boy and there's girl and they're going to meet in the end. How the writer writes an engaging story, it's the story of these two people, and they're going to overcome all obstacles and meet in the end. And that's the hardest part. When I wrote The Last Love Letter, the only romance book that I've written, I thought it was initially when I started writing, I thought I will not be able to complete this story because just two people, no villain, and I already know that they're going to end up, together in after 60,000 words, and how to achieve this. It was incredibly hard, but also at the same time, it was very satisfying because it forced me to think deeply. If one is looking to read a romance novel with an ending which is not predictable, then I think one should pick romantic thriller. I've written a romantic thriller in the past called In Love with Simran, and where you will not come to know it's a romance novel, but there's a thriller element into it, so you don't know what's going to happen in the end.
Yes.
And to answer your question, you'll have to ask me once again. Aruna, what was the question you said?
No, I was just going to say that, romance or any kind of writing, but particularly romance right now, that you're talking about brings pleasure or it can be cathartic to people. How else does it influence readers? But in what other way can romantic literature influence readers?
How does it influence readers? I think as a reader, when I read romance books, I think it's a fantastic escape for me
Yes.
to get into that alternate universe and whatever challenges these people are facing in that alternate universe, which I get sucked into. At the end of it, I realize, they overcome those obstacles and they end up together, which is a great feeling for me because it's got a at the end has got that happiness wave waiting, unlike any other book. So
Yes.
so I think it's a good time pass. It takes you to a world where things are going to end up in the right way. That's it, I think.
Yeah, sure. No, that's a wonderful, response from both of you. Now the floor is open to all of you, really, and I'd like to know what or who inspires you to write your romantic books. Vani?
For me, it's Jane Austen, and it'll always be Jane Austen. Yes.
And yes, wonderful. Sophia, what about you? Who are you inspired by? I know life is one big inspiration for you. I've read that.
That's what I was going to say. Observation, and there's so much going on around you, and I feel this is what my personal conviction is. When a man or woman is in love and has romance in their life, there is a spark in their life, and if you don't have that, probably people are a bit grumpy. So I think romance is a very good motivator, and yeah, it's been running on in my generations. They all had love marriages. I had a love marriage, so it's kind of inherent observation and everything. That's
And Abhishek, what is your point of view there?
Yeah, so my major inspiration is my multiple heartbreaks and the one-sided loves I keep having every day. So since I cannot do anything in real life, I write a story about it.
You imagine it all. It's a parallel life going on in your head. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a hallmark of a good writer. Bina, what about you? Who inspires you to write romance?
Yeah, for me, life inspires me. There's
Yes.
no doubt on that. But what is life if there is no love?
True.
So naturally, romance follows. So
Fantastic.
that's
And
why,
yes, and Kulpreet?
Observing people, meeting people, uh, imagining their stories, and then writing about it.
Okay, we have a few questions coming up also, but I think this important question, which will be, pertinent for the aspiring romantic authors. Do you think romances will always have a market, and why? I go to Sophie about it.
the publishing trends keep changing, but romance is an all-time favorite genre of mine. I just love it, and I think uh, I have. That's why I like all of you here in this panel because all of you are romantic writers, and I really hope that it will last. Like I said in my last answer, romance is a great motivator, and we all need motivation in life. Hopefully it lasts.
Kulpreet, what about you? Do you think romances will always have a market?
Romance is the highest selling genre in any case. It has always
yeah.
remained so abroad, in India also. So everybody needs a good romantic story. So I think it's going to stay. Trend should stay.
And Vani, what about you?
I think romance is going to always be there because it leaves you with such a feel good feeling, and I think there's nothing that can replace love and romance. That's the line I would like to end this with.
Fantastic. Bina?
Yeah, there's no doubt on that. In real life, actually, love and romance is really good. I was
Yes.
only talking about Mills and Boone, books where it's predictable. It's unpredictable. Anyone would love it. My
You and
book
I
is
were a team about that. That's not a favorite genre for me as well. So I guess you and I really think alike there.
Yeah, that's all.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a
Abhi-
feel-good factor. At the end of it, makes you smile.
that's right.
And in my book, in fact, I've made it quite unpredictable. People are not able to guess the ending. So I think it will definitely stay, and people will enjoy romance. There's no doubt on that. And in fact, my book has come in the number 5 bestseller in romance, and I didn't
Wow.
expect romance. I thought family and relationship was writing about.
Congratulations. Wonderful. Abhishek, any last thoughts about the saleability of romance and the sort of, permanence of it as a
Yes.
part of literature?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I agree with what all the other authors have said. Romance is here to stay, and as a reader also, I would any day prefer to go to bed with a romance rather than any other book. So yes,
Oh, yay!
Not
so
even
yeah,
humor,
my
right?
advice
Not
to
even humor, but romance.
yeah, sure. So something very mushy and that kind of which can make me cry. So I would any day prefer to read such a story. And my advice to all young authors would be: if you have a good story, if you have a good love story, please write it down and make it as mushy and as emotional as possible. You can always edit it later, but please write it.
Oh,
Done. Fabulous. Those are fabulous
Right.
last thoughts, really. We have a few questions from the viewers, but we don't have the time to just really take them on. I guess we can go back to the feed and answer them personally as well. That could be a more lengthy response that we give them. So thank you, really, a fantastic panel, really,
thank you so
I
much.
could have talked more with you guys, but anyway, there's a sword hanging over our head, and we must respect that. So that really brings us to the end
I
of this
think we had a
session.
ball.
We had a ball. I had
Yeah,
fun.
we
Thank
had
you very much.
I'd forgotten there is
Thank you.
audience there on the Facebook.
That's right. So no,
Thank you, everyone. It's really
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all.
I hope the
Bye.
viewers also enjoyed, the session as much as we did, putting it all together. But before I sign up or sign out, there are a bunch of people I must thank. First, the foresighted titan of the book bakers, Sanjeev Mathur, the energetic and enterprising Suhail Mathur, who is just completely unbeatable, the industrious and diligent Nidhi, who is a perfect foil for all of us. There are two more, absolutely. And there are two more people who I must thank. They are Rohan Bapat and Chirag Bagadia. Without the generosity and kindness of these two people, I would have stayed zoomed out, zoned out of Zoom. I wouldn't have known my way around it. So really, thanks to them. And I started the session with a few lines from Ghalib. It is only befitting that I end with the lines, from this hopeless romantic and this magical wordsmith. And he writes in one of his couplets, and I'm going to read that out. मोहब्बत में नहीं है फर्क जीने और मरने का उसी को देख कर जीते हैं जिस काफिर पे दम निकले. So well, keep reading romances, keep writing romances, folks. It is love and romance that keeps our world spinning. And there we go. Before I sign out, I must, request, I must urge the viewers to, stay glued on to their computer screens for the next session that follows. It's going to be an absolutely amazing, smashing session on the magic of mythology. So please stay on. You don't want to miss that one. And thank you for watching us. Thank you to my panel. Thank you to everybody who put it all together. And goodbye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you
so much,
Bye-bye.
Arunaji.
Bye.
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 Bye. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.